What's up, everybody? Matt here, and in further celebration of the upcoming ON1 training system that I'm working on, got another little bonus kind of sneak peek tutorial for you here. This one's on masking, and that was probably the funnest part of creating the ON1 system for me was the masking and selections and luminosity masking part of it was pretty fun to create. So I want to give you just some tips along using some of the mask tools in here. Probably, there's not only some of the most powerful tools in ON1, there's some of the most powerful masking tools that are out there. So definitely good to get a handle of them. I've got a photo open in layers. I'm in the ON1 extras backgrounds folder, and I'm going to drag one of their skies out. So you can download the photo that I'm using here, that house, and then these come inside of ON1, so you can use any sky that you want. We'll add it as a layer and then just use our move tool here just to kind of stretch it into place. Hit apply. One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the background layer, and first I'm going to make a copy of it. And then the next thing here is I'm going to drag one of the copies to the very top, and you'll see why we do that at the end there. So let's go over here. We've got two sections for masking. We've got the masking section and the refine section. In the masking section, this is where we start the mask. I've got the masking brush, which is automatically set to paint out mode, which is going to paint out part of the photo here. I can undo that, and I can always give the quick mask a try, especially with a really clear sky like we have here. It'll probably work pretty good to go in here and just kind of scribble around in the blue sky and get rid of it. All right, so it did most of the work for us, and that's about all I want from it, is to have most of the work done. And I don't know why there's a weird little kind of viewable fragment there. It's not actually there, but we have most of the work done. And then the other thing that'll do is, like you'll see down here in the right corner, it didn't get that. So what I could do here is if I just use the masking brush, what's going to happen is I'm going to eventually dig into all that, right? So then I can turn on the perfect brush right up here. And that's good, but the other problem with the perfect brush is if I go I'm going to dig in and still going to kill part of the tree there. So here's the little trick here, is I would turn the perfect brush off for just a second. Try to get most of it. Just give a quick outline. And then rather than come across here and dig in, turn the perfect brush back on. And if I hold down the command key on the Mac or the control key on the PC, it'll sample the last blue that I was over, and it'll keep me from destroying that tree up there. And probably work pretty good on some of these other edges too. Again, you got to hold your command or control key as you go along the edge. Okay, I'm not going to worry about that just yet. So that's a good way to not drive yourself crazy on every little edge that we have. Same thing, command or control, because I know I'm going to have to dig in there. It works fine out here and even partly, but eventually I'm going to have to go inside of this, and that's going to start to ruin what I'm sampling from. So command or control click, and that'll just sample some of those last colors that it was over. The other thing we can do here is I think we're actually pretty good on our mask. What I would say is we want to refine this. So we're done creating the mask. Now we go to the refine brush tool, this whole refine section here, but I always start with the refine brush. And then whenever I'm replacing a sky, I go up here to the gear and I turn on color decontamination, because that will help match the blues between the two photos here. And then just basically keep half the brush in, half the brush out, and just scribble. You don't have to be really precise. Go along there and scribble. I only try to do part of the photo at a time. Number one, I think it works a little bit better. Number two, it's faster. Number three, it makes it really easy for me to undo if I don't like the results. I don't have to undo the whole photo. The other thing that a lot of folks don't know is when it doesn't work the first time, keep going over it. The more you go over it, the more you'll get rid of those little halos or any of that decontamination of that blue fringe that you'll get there. So every time you go over it, it gets a little bit better. We can use it even up here. We can use it along the side of the house and the chimney. Right down there. There. And I'll just kind of go over a couple times on the tree here. See, each time I go over it, it gets rid of a little bit more of that blue. And then down here, we'll definitely zoom out a little bit so we can see the whole thing. There we go. Down here, we'll definitely want to go through that one a couple of times. You see, each time I go over it, gets rid of a little bit more of the halo there. Okay, so we're doing pretty good. I think our edges are looking good here. Maybe hit that one more time. Maybe hit this part over here one more time. And then eventually what's going to happen is, keep in mind, you're going to go in and out and you're going to see different things happening in the photo. As I zoom in here, you know, probably go ahead and hit that a couple of times just to get rid of some of those little halos there. You'll see here, this isn't going to be a good place for an automatic tool. So I'd go back over here to the masking brush. I would zoom in on this and turn the perfect brush off because I don't want it to do anything just yet. And then I would just, this is kind of like you're forcing it, right? You're forcing it to happen. I'll probably make the brush a little bit smaller here. Kind of like, hey, you know what? None of these other tools are working, so I'm just going to force my will upon you and work on the edge. Okay. Inevitably, what's going to happen, you're going to get some of these little holes inside of here. This is a good time to go to the chisel mask tool and hit the left bracket key, make it a little bit smaller, and then we can just chisel away at it. Chisel away at some of those edges, and that's all it does. It kind of pixel by pixel gets rid of some of those fringes that we have inside of here. Went a little bit too far over here. You could go back to your masking brush, hit the letter X to paint back in, and paint back in parts of that chimney over here and right up here. Right up there. Then if I ever see a hard edge that doesn't look right, I'll come over here with the blur mask tool. And so then what we'll do is we'll just go in here and kind of blur that edge a little bit. I also use it when I just can't get something to look right. Like when it just, you know, it will almost disintegrate it and kind of blur it away into oblivion. And sometimes that's not bad. Because you're just taking a problem area and getting rid of it. So little branches, pieces of hair, if you're replacing somebody's background, that'll work pretty good. Let's see here. So next thing I would say is let's go back over here to the chisel tool. I think we can go up along the chimney here. Maybe even try the refine brush. I think that'll work. Yeah, perfect. Gets rid of those halos too. So sometimes you're going to find that tools work similar too. So don't think there's only one tool for the job. Sometimes, you know, you have your guidelines of how they work, but sometimes there's tools that'll work the same way. And then I would probably go over here. We could chisel away at the side. There we go. Any place where you see a fringe is a good place to use the chisel tool because it's a good way of getting rid of that fringe without eating away too much into the photo. Okay. Now, you saw before, the reason why I put a copy down at the bottom, this mask pokes through to the sky layer. If I go to the sky layer, especially because we have a clear sky and I reduce the opacity, I can bring in a little bit of that original blue and kind of make it look a little bit better there. So that's why I always put that layer at the bottom, because we're reducing the opacity of this, which is going to poke through and show the bottom layer that's right there. So you can kind of experiment with that. And then of course, drag a different sky in there. As long as you sandwich it between the top and the bottom layer, the mask will stay intact. And you can go in there and experiment with a few different skies. Okay, guys, hope you enjoyed this little tutorial on masking. Please stay tuned over at mattk.com. Stay tuned for the ON1 system, and I hope you'll check it out. Thanks.